Oh, hello there. Hi. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of Learning PHP. So this is series is called PHP for Beginners by Laracast. It's available for free on laracast.com and on YouTube. Both the links are in the description. So in this series, we've up until now been building a mini project for taking notes. This is what it looks like right now. These are Jamie's notes. Jamie is the user that we've hard coded. Jamie's user ID is in the, I believe it's in the notes .php. Yeah, user ID 6, note singular.php. If I change user ID 7, then I'm gonna get Emma's notes. So I have to change that in notes plural as well, user ID 7. See this? You know what? This is a good excuse to start using variables. So maybe I can export the current user ID from somewhere, maybe like the router. So I'll refresh this, it'll work. Wait. Yeah, these are Emma's notes. This is the note that I was trying to see. PHP. So that's what we've been building. I want to change this back to 6. Yeah. And ditto for this one. Current user ID should be 6. That's Jimmy. Okay. Yeah. Let's watch what Jeffrey has to teach us about programming. Specifically, programming is rewriting. Sounds fun.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's jump right in. So I will return to our node controller from the previous episode. And yeah, here's where we left off. So I want to point your attention to all of this junk here. All of this is responsible for fetching a note from the database and authorizing it. So why don't we see if there are small little tweaks and refactors that we might use to clean this up a bit. Because remember, this is what 80% of programming is. You get the first draft on paper, so to speak, and then you go over it again and again and again, making microscopic improvements that really do add up at the end of the day.
I think I took a note of this in one of the previous videos. All of programming is making small changes that improve readability. Therefore, programming is rewriting. Yeah. Let's go.
Okay. So the first thing I see is this. If not note, then abort. Okay. I wonder if there's a way that we could combine these. Like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a way to say fetch or abort, and then it would just do that automatically for me? Think about it. If I had that method, if that method was available to me, I would no longer have to write this. And in fact, across the entire code base, I would no longer have to write logic like this. I would simply use a helper method like that. But the problem is, well, this fetch method, I don't own. That's something that PHP provides internally. I think it's actually a PDO statement class. In fact, let's just play around. Let's die and dump the note to see what we have here. So I'll come back, give it a refresh, click on a note, and yeah, we see we have an instance of a PDO statement class that I don't own. But yeah, it's true though, there will be situations where you wish you did own it so that you could add things, so you could stack things like this. So, is there a way that we can allow for this? And the answer is absolutely. There's a number of options that we might consider.
Wow.
So let's take a look. Right now we know that this query method is returning that PDO statement object that we reviewed in the browser, okay? But what if it didn't? Let's click through, and yeah, that's where we return the PDO statement. But again, what if it didn't? Well, if it didn't, maybe I could either wrap it inside of another object or simply extend the API of this database class to offer some additional helper methods. All right, come along for the ride and see what you think.
Interesting.
If I'm no longer returning this...
Pause. Let me walk through this. Let me close everything. Close all. Yeah. So we were in the notes plural. Over here, it's fetching all. Okay. So this is the, but I think he described the note singular. Yeah, he did. It's fetching the singular note, which is coming from DB query. Now DB is something that's defined in the database class. So I'll show you where this is happening. See here, DB equals new database. Okay. So in the database class, we've defined a method called query. Let's look at it. I'm pressing Control and clicking on database. So it's showing me a preview. There it is. So can I open it? Can I just open it? Okay, I can't like this. Class database. Yeah, so if I double click on it, it'll open on the side, which is perfect. Okay, so here it is. I'm returning this statement, right? Statement is, I don't know why we called it statement though. Interesting that we chose to call it statement. Maybe it's a SQL statement, I guess. No, it's not. Yeah, I guess here it is. The statement is being prepared and executed with the parameters, but what we're returning is not a statement. What we're returning is an object, the PDO object that comes as a result of executing the params. Whew, quite a mouthful. So let's see how we can change this to incorporate the abort function, which is over here.
Statements, well, I could just return the object itself, the instance. And we can do that by saying return this. Okay, so now when I call query, I'm not returning that PDO statement.
Pause. So what's this referring to is the DB object itself, the database class. I think that's what he's going to say.
Returning the same instance of database.
Correct.
So in fact, right now, everything's going to blow up, of course, because now we're trying to call fetch on a database class and it doesn't exist. So yeah, if we come back to Firefox and refresh, of course we get a fatal error, and we'd expect that. There is no fetch method on the database class. Okay, so you know what? Let's do baby steps here. Why don't we start by adding a fetch method? So I will switch back, scroll down, and we'll add it here, fetch. And yeah, this is basically going to do what we had earlier.
It's going to do exactly what the PDO fetch method did. So it'll be this arrow fetch, I guess,
where we'd have something like statement fetch. But now the problem is this statement object, I don't have access to it. It's outside of the scope of this method, and instead it's inside of query, right? Here's our statement, and I want to access it from this method, but I can't do that. So it sounds like, there's a couple ways we could do this, but it sounds like, why don't we assign the PDO statement to this object as an instance property, like this. This statement equals connection prepare, and then I can update.
And he'll declare an empty statement up top, just like we did with config.
Take this like so, and then finally I will declare it at the top.
See, yeah.
Now don't forget, at the moment, we are making all class properties or object properties public because we haven't yet reviewed visibility or types or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, in real life, this would probably be protected or private. But for now, public is fine. Okay, cool. So now that we've effectively assigned the PDO statement to the object, I can grab it from any method that needs to access it, like this. So I'm going to say return this statement fetch. And if we did everything correctly...
Pause, this is confusing because we are calling the fetch method inside the fetch method. Because this fetch method here is coming from the PDO object and this fetch method is coming from the database object.
It all should just work. Come back to Firefox, give it a refresh, and there we go. We're in business. But now the key difference here, and this is an important one, the key difference is that I now own this fetch method, which means if I don't want to call it fetch
call it fetch and abort, yeah.
An example, I don't have to. And in fact, I think fetch is an ideal. If I just want to grab a record, if I want to find a record, well, why don't I just use a method like find? Well, now I have that ability because, again, I own this method. Okay, so now if I come back to note, you'll see by making this refactor, or again, we could have wrapped up the PDO statement within our own class and our own object that would have done the same thing. But either way, we have regained control, so to speak. We're not just using somebody else's API. We've wrapped it up in something that we own. So again, this is a little higher level, maybe a little more confusing, but these are really important concepts that you'll reach for throughout your whole career. Okay, so now we've swapped it over to find. Everything still works, and this is looking great. So the next step is to add a method to handle this. And remember at the beginning of the video, I said it might be nice if there was a method called fetch or abort, or find or abort, or find or fail, whatever you want. Again, this is the creative aspect of programming. You get to name it whatever you want. So in our case, why don't we call it find or fail? Okay, and that would, ideally, if we do it right, that would allow us to remove all of this here, and everything would still work just like it did before. All right, well, let's do it. Back to our database class. We now have a find method, but I will add a second version, find or fail. And this is just going to say, all right, we'll try to find the record. So this is going to call that other method that we just created. But then
Sorry, it should be this statement find.
we're going to do a check here.
Oh no, this find, yeah, because we just defined it upstairs. Sorry.
And we'll say, remember, I can't just say note because it won't always be a note. It could be a user, it could be a post, it could be something different. So we want to keep this fairly generic, like result. Then I could say, all right, well, if there's not a result, and we're just reproducing what we had in that note controller, then abort. But otherwise, if we do have a result, I can return it. And yeah, if we did everything correctly, this should just work. Let's give it a shot. We'll go into this note, and yeah, let's now access a note that doesn't exist, and we get a 4 of 4. It works exactly the way it did before, but now we've wrapped.
Amazing. Let me try and replicate this. So we're here in the database object. Haven't even started refactoring this, but let me do that now. So first up, I'm going to make this thing like connection. I don't know what it's called. Global object. I know. This statement. I will say public statement. Statement. Okay, this doesn't need a dollar. Okay, so this statement is a connection, prepare query string. This is fine. I'm going to change this to this statement as well. And instead of returning the statement, I'm going to return this. Okay, so what's happening here is it's very confusing. Let me try and explain this. I am essentially returning this object instead of just the statement, and I'm doing that because I'm going to be required to do different things on the object itself. So I'm basically abstracting out one thing that basically I'm going a level higher. So this won't work, of course, but I'll need to change this to find. Okay, so to do that, I'm gonna create a new public function. Call it find. Obviously this won't work yet, and I'll just return find. No, not find, excuse me. This, and execute the statement, I guess. Statement, and fet. Change this to find. Okay, is that the right? Yeah, this statement fetch. Okay, now this is going to find everything from the DB where user ID is 6, but I want to combine this and this, right? So over here, yeah, I change this to find as well. That was the name that had nothing to do with this, but I'll yeah, this was where I need to command P. Okay, so why is notes crying? Yeah, because fetch all doesn't exist on this. I'll change this to find as well. Fine. I think this is going to be it's gonna be difficult to debug, but let's see. I'm probably gonna get only one object if I do. I got nothing. I got nothing at all. Okay, at least this part works. No, it doesn't. Yeah, I don't need to do this. This would probably... Okay, let me check what he's done in the notes.
Access to this thing correctly. This should, if we do have what then I can be something different. B and check this is database class.
Yeah, here. Where is he? He's in the database class. Yeah, over here. In the note.php, find or fail. Right, in the note.php, it's find or fail. So this can still be, the name should not have changed. It should have still been fetch. Right, fetch, which is why he did not change this. But this one should be find or fail. Right, let me define that real quick. Public function find or fail, and what it does is sets a result. No, not a, yeah, result equals this statement, statement fetch. I'm getting some recursive vibes because of the naming of the variable, and if the result is result or is a null object, is not null. Why? I think if result, if result is null, meaning, yeah, if result is null, then abort with response code 404. Not found, else return result. Should I say else return result or just return result?
I can return it.
Yeah, just return result. Right, so result is this dot find, not this dot statement dot find. Okay, find. Interesting. Yeah, no, this is fine, but this one should be this dot find, not fetch, find. Yeah, now it makes sense. Find. Yeah, these were fine. Find or fail result. Okay, this should work again. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay. Jamie's notes. Right. It's not returning what I wanted to, so let me debug this. In the life cycle here, let me focus on just this. Oh, because I'm calling find or fail. I should probably remove this. Right? Yeah, I did. And find or fail goes for this find. Find is essentially a fetch statement, and if the fetch statement results in nil, but it's not, so this is somewhere that it's messing up. So let's look at his find function. Find function is return this statement fetch, this statement fetch. Yeah,
There's not a result. So remember, this is just going to say, all right, we'll try to find the record. So this is going to
pause. Okay, so this statement execute params, this statement execute params and return this. That's fine. Okay, the find statement after this, the find method, excuse me, after this returns this statement fetch. So if I can go here, return this statement fetch. Okay, so what's happening here is the fetch isn't I think it should be fetch all in this. I think it should be fetch all. Let me try that, because for the notes array it's probably going to give me multiple an array rather of multiple values. Yeah, see, it should have been fetch all, but that won't work there because yeah, so let me find all and let me do that. This is my thing. Okay, so fetch find all should be this, and I'll copy that. I'll say just find. See, this is what's wrong. Okay, so this should, the name should be find, that's okay, and this should be find or fail, so this should be find all. Okay, over here in notes it should also be find all. Yeah, and this should still be find because this is gonna return a singular value. Let's hope that works, fingers crossed. Jamie's notes work. Why am I not authorized? Note 3. Okay, is the current user, so that's what's happening here. I think that's a user permissions problem. User ID 6 is fine, but on the notes is also 6 and 6. Why am I not authorized to see this then? Current user 6. Interesting. But if I change this to let me look at table plus to solve this. It's going to be easier. So what is note ID 3? Note ID 3 belongs to user 6. So I should be, user 6 is Jimmy's notes. Yeah, user 6 is Jamie. And note ID 3 is associated with the foreign key 6. So I should be able to see this. Also with 5 and 7. So I'm going to stick to 3 right now. Okay, why is it giving me a 4 or 3? Let me check the control P router for that. Note, okay. So it should be in note singular, okay. And I think I know what this is. Current user ID is 6. DB is 6. Note if, yeah, this is what's happening. If note user ID is not current user ID, but the note object that's returned doesn't probably have the user ID, this thing, associative array. So let me log the note object. You know what's happening? Find or fail isn't returning the note object. Let's see if that's true in database. Should result find all. Right, because find or fail all. If I change this to find, then it'll work. So find or fail all. Find all or fail rather. And I'm gonna do the same here. Man, this is confusing. All because I wanted Jamie's name up there. Instead of find all, I'll say find or fail. Okay, so here in note, I want to return, since this is a singular note, I want to return just a singular one. That's fine. Okay. Singular one. Notes will be plural. So I should return find all. No, it won't affect this at all. Let me see if this works. Fingers crossed. Of course it won't. Okay, no problem. Find or fail. Find all or fail. Because the object isn't, the shape of the object isn't matching this. Go back. Go back. Notes. I made this confusing, didn't I? So let me just remove this thing. I'll just say my notes. And let's remove this. Keep things absolutely simple. We'll complicate them later if need be, and hopefully not. I don't want this. I'll just keep this my notes. And let me not get the name here. Okay. Okay, let me see if just that's fine. Yeah, this is fine. Let's go and change. Of course it won't. So now we have a find function which fetches this, and then we need a find or fail function. I'm going to remove the find all or fail. The find function should fetch just fetch this, that's fine. Okay, I don't think I need find all either. I probably do, but let me just remove things so that the editor highlights wherever I've changed it. So instead of find all or fail, I'll just say find or fail. And in notes, I'll just say find. I'm expecting this to return, this won't probably work. It'll give me like blank bullet points. Amazing, so I'm on the right path. So instead of fetch, I need to fetch all. Let's see. Booyah. It still doesn't solve the authorization problem because why is that? Let me see if he addresses it.
Call that other method that we just created. But then we're going to do a check here. And we'll say, remember, I can't just say note because it won't always be a note. It could be a user. It could be a post. It could be something different. So we want to keep this fairly generic, like result. Then I could say, all right, well, if there's not a result, and we're just reproducing what we had in that note controller, then abort. But otherwise, if we do have a result, I can return it.
Am I returning the result? Yeah, I am. Result is this find, which I am choosing to fetch all, but he's choosing to fetch. So let me just follow him. Fetch. Then it won't give me a list here, of course. The reason for that is let me die dump the object that I get in the notes. Okay, let me die dump notes. Notes. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm getting interesting because I'm getting only one post here, one note here. I should find all for sure. Let me just still call it fetch all. Yeah, this won't work because the object isn't that. But at least if it's fetch id equals 3, I'm not getting anything here. Interesting. No man, this has to be find all. Fetch all rather. Where is it? Database. No, where did I define this? Yeah, over here, database. Prepare fetch all. Buddy. There you go. This is fine. But in the singular note, current user ID is 6. Let me just change this to 7. Let's see if that works. Why should it? But let's see. Of course it doesn't. Remove the die dump from here. Why am I triggering the 403? 403 is triggered anytime in the router. No, 403 is triggered here. Response not found. Oh god, did I do something stupid? Not found. No. Sorry, you're not authorized. Response code. Okay. Let me see if I'm actually getting a 403 or is it a 404 with the wrong view. Oh, console. Yeah, I am getting a 403, so that's good. The reason I'm getting a 403 is because of this. No, not because of this, but because of this. Yeah, note user ID. It's not note user ID. What is it? Let me log the object. Okay, note dd. No, did I say log? I'm sorry, my JavaScript days are coming back. Okay, this is good progress. I will go back to the database and instead of fetch, I still don't know why Jeffrey called a fetch, not a fetch all method, but let's see. Yeah, over here user ID is 6, right? And where's the node PHP? It's 7, so I'm changing it to 6. Now the node user ID has to be amazing. We fixed something, but then we broke the other thing. Okay. Let's see if he's addressing that next.
And yeah, if we did everything correctly, this should just work. Let's give it a shot. We'll go into this note, and yeah, let's now access a note that doesn't exist, and we get a 404. It works exactly the way it did before, but now we've wrapped up.
Pause. So he's probably doing something while in the notes PHP file. Let's see the notes plural PHP. Is not here. 1 second. Let me see the source code for this project. He's in controllers and notes plural. Select star from, yeah, see, this is different. This is different. Instead of doing this, he changed to get. Lol. And what is get? I don't know what get is. Get isn't been defined yet, so he's probably going to define it now. Let's see.
All right, next let's move on to this section here. And again, sometimes it helps to take a step back and just ask yourself, well, what is this code doing? And if I were to explain it to you, I would say, oh, this code authorizes that the current user created the given note. But notice that keyword authorize doesn't exist here, but maybe it should. So in that case, maybe we could add a helper function called authorize. Let's try it out. If we, and this doesn't exist right now, but if we had a function called authorize, what would we do? Well, maybe we could take the condition and pass it through, and that would just do it. You know, again, wouldn't it be cool if that was a thing? And if it's not a thing, make it a thing. Like this. We'll go into functions.php. We're going to add a new one here, authorize. This will accept some kind of condition, or really a Boolean. And then I could say, well, if the condition fails, so if not condition or falsy, then we will abort with a 403 if you wish. So response forbidden. And I think that should do it. And actually, on this note, it might be useful and flexible if we extended this. For example, what if we added a second parameter to allow the user to override the default status code? And right now, the default is response forbidden. So then we could substitute it here. But yeah, notice now, if the user wants, or if we want, we could pass a custom status code that we want to use. But now you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, if we're performing authorization, then isn't 403 always the proper status code?
Yeah.
And the answer is, well, yes and no. Maybe technically yes, but there will be situations where even though the user may not be authorized to view a particular page or resource, you don't necessarily want to indicate that to them, because that provides information about the state of the database. Maybe that's a way to look at it. It gives them information that, oh, that record does in fact exist. So maybe I could do something malicious knowing that. Another example, we're going on a tangent here, but 30 seconds. Another example might be if you need to reset your password and you type in an email address, you submit the form. You've done this before, right? And then it returns and tells you, we couldn't find a user with that email address. And plenty of sites do this. But if you think about it, it is, and in fact, Laracast might do this. But if you think about it, if you think about this, it does reveal information about the database, because now you have a way to check if a given user exists, or if a given email address exists in the database. So notice you're revealing information that you may not want to in certain situations. Okay, so that was a long way to say it could be useful to allow ourselves or our future selves to override the default status code. Okay, anyways, let's come back.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Why is his notes different from mine? Let me just compare it one by one. First of all, amazing explanation of why it would be useful to not send the 403 status code. Exactly um, explained it precisely, amazingly. I couldn't have done a better job myself, so I'll shut up. But here, note.php, let me go note singular.php. Since the get doesn't exist, I'm not going to do it right now. Okay, note.php, config db heading. Heading should be my note. Config db heading, user ID is 6, user ID, sure, that's fine. Am I dealing with 6 here and here as well? Yes, I am. That's Jimmy, I believe. Mr. Beast himself. Now let's look at this node db query, select everything, node db query, select everything, where id is id, where id is id, and id get id, id get id. Find or fail. That's exactly what I've done. Okay. Okay. Then why am I getting a 403 here? Here I'm not, right? Yeah, right now I'm not. So this is fine. This works. But in notes.php, if I am getting a query, what is the query function resulting in? Query method resulting in? The query method results in this object and this. Jesus Christ. It should not be that, it should be this. Since it's returned, I should probably statement and then find it. I swear. Find. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to all nodes. Whew. Okay, so the statement is db query statement. What's being resulted? Is there a find method here? I don't think there is a find method on this. Reload. There is, but it's not loading anything. Then if I go to notes, let me dd notes. Notes, of course, semicolon. I'm getting a single note, which is incorrect. I am expecting 2 notes. So if I go to the database.php, I'm going to fetch all. Now I'm getting everything, but this will stop working. So since I fetched all, okay. This is find and public function find all, simple solution, best solution. No, not a paragraph tag. Return this statement, fetch all, boom shakalaka. I'm gonna use the find method here. Okay, so this should still work. Yes, it does. And the find all method over there. So right now it doesn't work, but I'm gonna make it work by calling it find all. Let's go. Who's the greatest programmer in the world? I don't know who he or she is, but I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now. I'm so sorry for being this cheesy. but I'm really happy that you could watch me fail and learn from my mistakes and try to solve this step by step. This was several levels of abstractions, all because I chose to complicate my own software stack. It's like this screaming screaming goose meme. You've seen this one? uh who chose, no, not this one, who chose it, whose idea was it? Angry goose. Yeah, this one. It's like this one. All because I chose to have separate find all functions. It's like I'm saying, man, PHP is really complicated. Say, who chose to make it complicated? Who chose to make it complicated? Sorry. Like this. Like this. You've seen this meme, right? Please tell me you are all perpetually online just like me. Okay, so I'm happy that this works at least. I don't know why he chose to change this to get, but maybe he teaches this later. Whew. Now let me use the authorize function. Okay, this should be simple enough. Famous last words. Cut this and go to the router. No, not the router, the functions. And function authorize takes in something, and sorry, I'm typing in the dark, so yeah. Okay, so I need condition, and I need the response code. What did he call it? He didn't call it response code. He said status, and it'll default to response forbidden. Now if condition, if not condition, in fact, yeah, then abort with status. Okay, let me go to note, authorize this condition. Okay, so the note user ID is not the current user ID, then this. It should be the opposite of that, I do believe, if the condition is true. Then, so this is a double negative problem, classic double negative problem. See, what's happening here is if the user ID is not equal to the user ID, but in fact I should just say if it is equal to the user ID. See, this works. We know he's authorized, Jimmy is authorized for seeing number 3, but Jimmy is not authorized for seeing number 4. Correct. Whew. Let's see if we get the status code as well. Inspect. Yeah, we do. Console status 403. But if I change this thing, give it a second parameter and just say give me a response code of 200, then it won't show me this error. I'll just refresh. Interesting. Oh, because I haven't set this thing. a response code for this thing. So if I just do 404, then 404, then it'll show me a different page. Okay, at least we know that this is working. You know why that happened was because I don't have a 200 .php. If I did, it would just be over here somewhere, 200.php. So the router was looking for 200.php, which doesn't exist. See here, coming from the abort functions. No, it's in the router. Yeah, abort function response code 200. So view/200.php doesn't exist, which is why it showed me the error. I'm glad we're here together. Let's see what else is he teaching us today.
It could be useful to allow ourselves or our future selves to override the default status code.
It is useful. Thank you.
Anyways, let's come back. And yeah, I think this is actually looking pretty good. So back to Firefox. Here's a record that...
Pause. So the difference is he chose to authorize the double negative. But it should not be this condition, not condition, because that's a double negative. So this is like if the user is not equal to user ID. It's more confusing, right? So instead I chose to just simplify it by doing, where is it? Yeah, by this is fine. But in the note array, I chose to call it double equals rather than not.
Yourselves to override the default status code. Okay. Anyways, let's come back.
I don't know why this is working for him.
And yeah, I think this is actually looking pretty good. So back to Firefox. Here's a record that doesn't exist. Here's a record that we didn't create. And
yeah, see that gotcha. It's
actually, I expected that to work. We didn't create this note, but we could still see it. So again, notice these are the things you have to deal with all the time. Yeah. And this is where in the future you'll learn about testing, automated ways to confirm that you didn't screw up, as I did here. So anyways, if I come back to our node controller, I want to authorize that.
I'm so happy we picked up on it before he did. Thank you, Jeffrey.
That the note's user ID equals the current user.
Correct.
And that'll solve the problem, as you see there. Finally, if we view a note that we did create, everything works the way we'd expect. Okay, so let's wrap up by updating. And does this fail? Yeah, it does. So because we made those tweaks to the database class, we're going to have to update our notes controller to no longer call a fetch all method. All right, let's go.
I fixed it. Oh my God, did I just spend the first half hour of this stream fixing something that he's fixing later? Oh my God, let's go. I'll change this as well. I use a double negative. He uses strict equality operator, which is triple. As I use a double equals, it should be triple equals. So I changed that. It should still work. Yes. Okay.
Go to notes. And yeah, DB query. And do we want to keep this method? Do we like that? Fetch all? Or do we want it to be something different? Like maybe you just want it to be called all. Or maybe you want it to be called get. So here's my query and get me the results. Keep it simple whenever you can. So with that in mind, we're going to stick with get. Come back to database. Here is our method called get. And again, this is just going to say return this statement fetch all.
Yeah, I called it find all. He called it get. Wow. Should I say find all or call it get? He said keep it simple. I prefer find all if it's the same because it's more explicit. I'll stick with find all. Thank you.
And again, notice that I now own that method name. Come back, refresh, and that works as well. So I think this is a pretty cool refactor.
Thank you.
So you know what? I get it. We've been sort of in the woods the last couple episodes as we talk about some nitty-gritty details and refactoring. Maybe that's not fun to you. Actually, it's super fun to me, but I get it. It's nothing flashy that we can see on the page. So in the next episode, we will fix that by finally reviewing forms and how we can allow our users to create brand new notes that are persisted in the database. I'll see you then.
Thank you. Wow, what a episode. What an amazing episode. We really went deep into the woods here. So, Jesus, my imposter syndrome is showing, isn't it? Okay. So let's review this quickly. We refactored things to be honestly more complicated at my current level right now, but I'm going to do my best to explain it. So let's start with the notes array. Instead of fetch all, we defined a method called find all because we wanted more control over how the statement behaves. So not this, but this one. So just so that we can have an abort response within the find method, we chose to define two other methods. So find all, and find or fail. Find or fail is what we will use in this section over here, where we are actually displaying a singular note. So that makes complete sense. But we're going to use find all, where we expect an array of results. So to do that, I'm going to go to the database object again. This is essentially just refactoring such that we are not returning the statement. Instead, we're returning the whole object. And from that object, if we want to call the fetch method, then instead of calling fetch, we call a method called find. Then if you want to call the fetch all method on that object, instead of calling fetch all, we're calling find all, which he called get. And then because we want to combine the abort functionality within the find or fail, then within the fetch method, then we defined a method called find or fail. So find or fail takes in the find method, which is again just a fetch method masquerading as a custom method. And if this does result in something, then we'll return that result. But if it does not result in anything, then we'll just say hey, we did not find what you're looking for, so 404. Then what we also did was we created a authorization function over here. So if the condition is met, if the condition is not met, then we abort it with the status, the default being 403, which means you're not authorized to view this. And how this is being used is in the note function. So if the author of the note is different from the current user ID, so if the so this is true, right? So the author of the note and the user ID is the same right now because we've just hard coded it. Then it will return true, and because it returns true, we basically do nothing essentially. But if it returns false, right? So if the condition is false, then we would have aborted it. So that's how we are working with the authorize function. Absolutely complicated stuff, but hopefully I was able to explain this to you in a reasonably decent way. I hope you enjoyed learning PHP with me. Again, I'm a beginner too, as you can clearly see. I am learning PHP for beginners from laracast.com. The link to this is in the YouTube description. They also have a full 12-hour-ish video on YouTube for free. You don't need to sign up or anything. You can either choose to watch it on YouTube or on laracast.com. Both the links are in the description. Thank you to Jeffrey Way for creating what I think is the best, one of the best PHP tutorials out there. Thanks to you for watching, and see you again next time. Bye.